coming up on this latest edition of Rugby League Down South. Past Broncos in Pastures new. South Wales sticking to their valley roots. Scholars sought their pitch sabbatical and the resurgence of the Storm in South London. Welcome along then to another episode. Some really good chats again in this week's programme. The last two podcasts have been very well received, so thank you for all your comments and emails on that. A suggestion, in fact, from Andy from last week on Twitter at Ian Ramsdale saying former London Broncos players are having good performances in Super League over the weekend. Good tries from Amari Caro, Tony Clubb, Wigan Warriors and Michael Channing as well, scoring a try. We know that one, didn't he, for Castleford against Broncos. Saying maybe it's a good idea to have a chat with potentially someone about how former Broncos are doing elsewhere in Super League. Now, I did try to catch a few former players of the Broncos. Tilson Tollett spoke to, but he was going away to Australia, couldn't manage to do anything with him before he went, and hopefully we'll maybe chat to him over the next few weeks. But I thought we would chat with the editor of Rugby League World, Gareth Walker, a man who covers Super League and knows the game very, very well. A very good man and a very balanced voice to hear from, as you will now hear. Gareth, as it was mentioned to me the other day, at the moment Broncos are not doing too well, but there's a number of former Broncos and London produced talent that are playing elsewhere in Super League. So I just thought I'd talk to someone who's seen a lot more of them this season than me. So I thought we'd talk to yourself. And just generally, there's quite a few, aren't there? You know, London lads enjoying themselves at the moment at Super League clubs.
Absolutely, and I think that's a definite marker of the development work that's been done in and around London over the past decade or more. You know, those guys have come through systems in the London area and are now playing for some of the very strongest Super League clubs.
The ones that left at the back end of last year, to pick out a couple of those, I mean, Dan Sargentson and Tony Clubb. There's a lot of good stories pre-season about Dan Sargentson. He impressed in the opening couple of games of the season. How's he been so far this year?
Well, as you say, he certainly set off well and impressed early on. He had a good game in the World Club Challenge, racing back from their one particular notable tackle. And he started terrifically. You know, he's not always been first choice the last few weeks because they've had Darryl Gould in it and Thornley come back in. But I suspect the way that Sean Wayne works, and he does with other players, not just London lads. I'm looking at John Bateman, who came from Bradford. I don't think these young lads will always play every game at Wigan. He likes to give them a bit of a break and not overburden them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Sargentson, kick on again and come to the fore later in the year.
I suppose it's a different style of development than what London have sort of had to do in recent years, because they've had to play people like Sargentson because they haven't had the depth of squad to use a development tool like Sean Wayne does.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's probably benefited the players, exposing them to Super League rugby. Almost every week at times in London will have helped players like Dan Sargentson, but I think there comes a time where I think it's the same with John Bateman, who's a northern lad up from Bradford, where he just doesn't want them, to be overburdened and to have the pressure on them every week. And we're going to afford it the luxury of being able to bring him in for certain games and playing in others. And I think that'll help him as well. What
about Clubby as well? He's at Wigan.
Yeah, I saw Wigan on Friday night, and again I think we'll see Tony Clubb get better as the year goes on. And they've both gone to a club, Wigan, where although they are the double winners and obviously one of the biggest clubs in the game, it's almost a transitional year for the club. They've lost a lot of experienced guys. They're bringing through some of their own young lads, and they had a lot of new signings. So I think it'll take the team, probably a few months to get up to where they were last year. And I think that's probably reflected in Tony Clubb and Dan Sargentson. What I would say is that as Wigan improve, I'd expect those two to come to the fore and become more prominent as well.
Before we work our way backwards and look at lads that left over the last couple of years, Michael Channing, mid-season last year, went to the Castleford Tigers and saw him at the Hive last week. Scored a try against his former club, and Castleford doing well. How's he done in the Tigers shirt?
Yeah, I have a lot of time for Michael Channing. I thought even before he came north, he was showing terrific signs of potential at London. His ability to flick a ball out of the back, almost Matt Gidley style. Was noticeable from a young age, and I think he's at the perfect club because Castleford are an up-and-coming side, and in Darryl Powell they've got a coach there who throughout his time in the Championship was renowned for developing players, not just coaching a good side and putting systems in place, but improving specific players. And I think we'll see that with Channing. He's been very good when I've seen him for Cass this year. He's a genuine danger with the ball all the time. And I think he's in the perfect place to kick on and make the most of his rugby league ability.
And why are we seeing these players really develop and flourish at other clubs and not at the Broncos? I mean, is that something that has been talked about with you in the press, and features and other coaches have discussed that? I mean, why are they not necessarily getting better out of the players, or is it just that they're playing with a better, on the whole, a better team?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think there are a couple of factors why they got picked up. Obviously the ability of the players first and foremost. These are guys who Wigan and Castleford and St Helens clubs have seen real talent in, and also perhaps the state of the Broncos the last few years. Tony Clubb was quite vocal in saying he wanted to go out and win things, and I think that's just a reflection of the state of the Broncos, really, that these guys, they only get one rugby league career, and if they can be successful at the very top level, they feel they're going to pursue it, and just at the moment in time, they can't perhaps do that in London.
We're going to be in severe danger of not mentioning all the players by name, but we're going to try. One man who's doing very well at the moment, scoring a number of tries for Hull KR, Amari Caro, has been there a couple of years and seems to be really finding his feet this year.
He does, yeah. I think it's fair to say when he first went there, he perhaps had a bit of a stuttering start, and I think he spent time at GARETH Thunder in Championship 1 last year as well on dual reg. But from what I've seen of him this year, he really looks the part. I don't think there's ever been any doubt about his athletic ability. He's always been a terrifically quick and strong athlete. It's perhaps just maybe an element of game sense and getting him used to the speed of Super League. But scored a couple of fantastic tries for LKR, real wingers, finishers tries, and I think he's definitely one to watch this year.
And you can't talk too much about London developed players without referring to Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook. Enjoying himself, he always enjoys himself wherever he is and whatever he's doing at St Helens.
Yeah, he's now an integral part of their forward pack, isn't he? And a forward pack that's obviously flying high in Super League. He's had to step up at times when the two guys that most people have been talking about, Kyle Amor and Alex Walmsley this year, had to miss a few games recently, and Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook and other guys that have had to step up in that time as well. And he just looks at home all the time now in Super League. He's a fully fledged member of a very top side and a big part of what Saints do.
And what is the general feeling about all these players and how well they're doing from people like yourself that cover the sport? Because, the Gary Schofield way of thinking is that, London should be a pathway for getting people into the game and then putting them at teams that are successful, where they can best use their talent. And that's really what we've seen with those players over the last few years. But I mean, is that sort of the general feeling of, at the moment, how London is best used and, that these players are really getting the more out of them at these clubs?
I think it's slightly inevitable at the moment, just because, as we've said, the state of the Broncos, really. I think while they're in that position and struggling, when you've got talented lads, they're going to move on and try and further their careers. And I don't think that's exclusive to London. If that was happening in a club up north where that team was struggling, but they were still developing good young players, they get cherry-picked by other clubs. And Castleford are an example of that for years. They've been producing excellent players, and guys like Joe Westerman, as soon as they've come into the team and got to a certain stage, they've been picked up by bigger clubs. In an ideal world, in Rugby League, I think we'd like to see these lads staying in London and building a successful London Broncos team. That would be the absolute ideal, and I think that would be the best positive for the sport, because I think that would lead to more Londoners playing the game. But at the same time, I won't begrudge these young lads. They've only got one shot at it, and if they get a chance to come and play at a big club up here, then why not? It is just another use of that outstanding development work in London.
And is there a general consensus about why things aren't working at Broncos this year? I mean, you got people like me and the fans down here that are quite close to it, and you look at it, and maybe you don't have the view of the outsider and a real sort of all-round look at it. Is there anything that you think that people talk about that say, why it's not particularly working at London this year?
Well, they were so far behind in the recruitment. Again, I think if you did that with almost any club, if you put them in the situation that Tony Ray was in and the time they had to recruit a competitive team, it's going to be hugely difficult, We've seen it to an extent with other clubs, and Bradford and Wakefield are struggling compared to the others, but London was a real extreme, and they'd lost so many of last year's squad who've been cherry-picked by others, and I think they were always going to be up against it this year. I think, we can go into great depths about what's happened over the past few years and how they got into that state, but for this season alone, I think they were so far behind with recruitment that it was always going to be a near impossible job to have a properly, fully competitive side, especially in the early stages of the season. They can still improve, of course.
That's Gareth Walker, the editor of Rugby League World magazine. A very balanced opinion on currently what he thinks and what many people think about the former Broncos players applying their trade elsewhere in Super League. And, it depends on, of course, what happens next year with Broncos and the division they're in and the plans they put in place. You'd have thought that certain plans will have to be in place fairly soon. I don't know. I was thinking maybe 10 rounds in, should the club have a sort of a bit of a stock take, a bit of a stock check on where they're up to, and decide on a plan for next year, whether it be two plans or potential outcomes. You'd have thought that by the time the season gets to halfway, I think it's going to be looking far more realistic in terms of what will happen in 2015. But talking of that development, well done to the under-19s. Another win for the Broncos, this time over Salford, 46 points to 40. Well done to Danny Ward and the lads. I mentioned that on Twitter. And Hector McNeil, one of the directors at London Scholars, said that the Scholars under 13s, 15s and 17s won as well. Hashtag future looks good, says Hector. North Hearts Crusaders saying well done to their under 15s. When they've got a full strength squad, they can really develop and enjoy the season. They're asking people to bring a mate and join the crusade. And as well, plenty of people as well using the RLDS hashtag on Twitter or Facebook as well. If you're now they do hashtags. So RLDS standing for, of course, Rugby League Down South. Liam saying, heard rumours London have signed Dwayne Chambers. Is someone taking the mick or is this true? Liam, I think it's probably someone taking the Michael. When I last spoke to Dwayne Chambers a couple of years ago, of course, when he played for Castleford, and when he was down in London, he came to a game, didn't he, the following season, and he said, no, it's not for me. The game of Rugby League isn't for him. So I think that's I haven't heard anything until I saw your tweet on Twitter. So yeah, I think that's probably a little bit of speculation, although this is where I start to look stupid, but I'm pretty sure that's not the direction that the Broncos are going in. Stephen Drew retweeted on the Rugby League Spartans, the Southend Spartans, had tweeted about their shirt preview, adding the RLDS hashtag RLDS. Danny Ward of the London Broncos, the 19th, also using the RLDS hashtag. That's good to see. Good old Cockney knees up after today's win, with a picture as well of the lads in the dressing room after that win against Salford. Jeffrey, including RLDS and a tweet to the BBC Rugby League programme, saying would Brian Noble be up for the challenge of keeping London Broncos in Super League. I know that Brian Noble is I'll say interested. He has been interested in the past about coaching in London. Thinks he could do something with the Broncos. Of course, the situation in Salford, as far as I can tell, isn't overly resolved yet in terms of an absolute definition. I would also remember that Broncos currently have a coaching set up, so I'm not sure there's a need at this moment in time, although you may disagree, for a new coach, or they're certainly not looking for one, put it that way. But I don't want to speak on behalf of Brian Noble, but he would be interested, I'm sure, if there was a role that he could do to his requirements and what he wanted to do, and have a position that he would like. Storm Masters on Twitter as well, saying that they're in action against the Sussex Merlins, the Masters Festival on the 3rd of May. Anyone wanting a game, get in touch. RLDS hashtag is good. And we'll get to them, in fact, the South London Storm, in just a minute. First of all, though, big game in Championship 1 this weekend. Scholars versus South Wales. We'll hear from the Scholars in just a second. Plenty of things going on with them, but we'll head to Wales first, simply because it was the first interview of the day that I recorded today, so it makes chronological sense to play them in this order, as you will realise when you hear it. And I can only excuse the drilling that was going on next door whilst I recorded this interview with Mike Grady, the head coach of South Wales Scorpions. But they haven't won a game so far this year. Neither have Scholars, and they head to the New River on Sunday, the final game for the Scholars, playing on the turf, as it is, the green grass at the New River Stadium, before they temporarily move away to have a 4G pitch installed. More details on that in their interview in just a second. But first, the head coach of South Wales Scorpions. This is Mike Grady. Mike, let's start with the game then on Sunday. Yourselves travelling to London Scholars. There's historically been a bit of rivalry. I don't know whether you know, between the two sides. It's always a bit of a big game. But both of you looking for your first win of the season as well.
Yeah, it's spot on. Both teams will be looking for the first win. I not the fixture historically, as you previously mentioned. A few of the lads that have played in it before have said there's a little bit of rivalry there. We'll just be going into it, concentrating on ourselves, plugging away as we've been doing with regards to the effort and commitment from the lads, and hopefully we can get the right result at the weekend.
Well, I hope that's drilling we can hear in the background. If it's not, I should probably start getting worried. But Mike, in terms of your season, no win yet. How have you judged what your side had done? We spoke earlier in the year, and you were happy, but obviously you hadn't got the result yet.
Still happy. Still along the same lines. The only team we've been outclassed by is York. Obviously, this year they gave us a thumping that day, and to be honest, they weren't on fire, so they'd probably beat anyone on that day. But particularly to give us a good thumping. But Hemel and Gloucester, we were thereabouts. We were in the game with maybe 25 minutes ago, but they were just a little bit smarter than us, and obviously their experience shone through to get the win. And against Oldham, we were probably unlucky not to get a bonus point. So it's there. We're getting there. If we can just keep plugging away, as I previously said on the show with yourself, if the effort and commitment stays as it is, I'm positive the rewards won't be far away.
And how do you judge playing against a London Scholars side that had a slow start last year? They've had a similar slow start this year. On paper, they're a good, big, strong side, but obviously just lacking a bit of confidence or lacking at the moment that little spark that gets them all clicking.
Yeah, you're right. On paper, they do look a good side, and they've probably been unlucky not to get a couple of wins themselves. Maybe again it's a confidence thing, similar to ourselves. I think either team just needs that win maybe to kickstart the season and show that they can do it on the pitch. But it's just getting that belief from that first win. They are a big side. I have looked into them a little bit. They are a big side, and it will be tough up the middle. But as I say, I'm confident our lads can go and give it a go, and we'll see where we are after the 80 minutes.
And this could sound like a stupid question, but I usually like to throw at least one into the interviews that I do. What sort of South Wales side do you have this year in terms of sort of local makeup and the lads that you've got? I mean, we've seen various guises of Welsh teams play in divisions in rugby league in the last few years. Some of them have varied from the Welsh content to sort of like people they've got in on dual reg and other clubs and stuff. How is the makeup of your South Wales Scorpion side this year?
I'm glad you've asked that, and it is a good question. So far this season, we've given 10 lads the debut within the professional game. They've come through the amateur ranks, the likes of Valley Cougars in the conference. We have got 7 students also in the side, but unfortunately they're not available this weekend due to the Four Nations. So we're on the back foot a little bit with regards to that. And everyone within the squad are from Wales. So the makeup of it this year is predominantly Welsh, and that's where we were looking at going. And it builds well for the future, bodes well for the future. So we can keep it within that structure. I think we'll see quite a few of the Welsh talent coming through. So that's where we're at the moment. A lot of people question the judgment, but with regards to the Wales lads, it's kept the morale high. Everyone's knows each other within the squad. There's a good camaraderie within the squad, so if we can keep it as it is, I'm happy with that.
And in the off season as well, before this year, there was loads of news and speculation around, that the money wasn't there to back the team, and that that they might not exist this year. The team, I know you were late into your position, but the team are there. They obviously need to be there for the good of the game. How are things sort of stability wise? This is obviously a slightly new look South Wales Scorpions this year, but is this something that you think and that is the plan to keep it going for a number of years?
Yeah, I think it will be going for a number of years, a good number of years. I do have positive meetings with Wales Rugby League and obviously the people behind the Scorpions. So there is a long-term vision. The money is not as it was this year due to what happened previously, but that's a good thing for me because lads know what we're here for, what we're playing for, and they want to be here to play rugby league. It's not about the money this year. It's about getting a bit of stability, as you say, and building for the forthcoming years. So we know where we're at. And we will be around for a good few years. There's plans in place to take the club forward, so we just need to keep plugging away and doing as we're doing.
And I don't mean this to sound at all derogatory, but sort of what level are South Wales Scorpions, playing in Championship 1 at the moment? Everyone talks about aspirations of playing in Super League, or maybe not everyone, but, aspirations of playing in Super League or getting promotion to the Championship. Is that sensible, or is it right that you sit in Championship 1 at the moment and build the game, build the crowd, build your players, build the structures before you really think too far ahead?
I think it is right that we are in Championship 1, and as you just rightly pointed out, that we build them things to make the club sustainable. I don't think Championship is a far off dream. I think you've got to have dreams, you've got to have aspirations, but as you've pointed out, we have to build from the bottom. As regards on the field, I'll say it again, we're not a million miles away. Hemel and Gloucester weren't million times better than us. They were just smarter than us, and that'll come with experience, and I think we'll get that as we go along. We've only had a 3-4 week pre-season, so when people look at results from the outside, they're the little things that we possibly forget. There has been a lot of disruption in the off-season. I have had the lads 4 weeks. Only had 4 weeks to sign a squad. But as I say, we just need the stability, build things off the field, as you rightly pointed out. And I don't think Championship is unrealistic within the coming years, but it will take time, and we do have to build, as you say.
And we are going to hear from London Scholars next in the podcast and talk to them more about sort of the future of Championship 1 potentially. But what has the talk been about sort of next year? It kind of like the forgotten division, isn't it? Everyone's talking about the 2 12s going into 3 8s and the top 2-3 divisions. But Championship 1 just seems to have been almost pushed aside, pushed down a bit.
Yeah, it does. I know where you're coming from when you're saying that, because if I'm totally honest, I'm not sure what the structures entail, and what I know there's the 2 12s and the 3 8s. Is that what it is? I'm not sat down and had a look at it, but it does seem like we've been cast aside. But we'll just concentrate on ourselves. That's what we're doing in house, concentrating on ourselves and improving every week, and that's what we'll do. And then we'll tackle that issue when the season comes to an end. But hopefully there's something there for us. But as you say, we have seen to have been forgotten. But we'll just keep going and see what happens at the end of the year.
The head coach there of the South Wales Scorpions, Mike Grady, ahead of their trip to Scholars on Sunday in Championship 1. The final game, as I mentioned, at the New River on the grass there. There'll be a fans forum as well for Scholars fans before the game, where the head coach, Joe Mabou, there'll be Howard Kramer, the general manager, and their new commercial manager, Pat Klusky, is going to be talking to the fans and letting you know about the direction of the London Scholars. More of that right now as we hear from the general manager himself, Howard Kramer. But first of all, I mentioned on Twitter that, Scholars were knocked out the Cup at Sheffield. Hemel lost at Doncaster. Broncos losing in the south of France. So with Southern France, Catalans, and South Yorkshire teams ending RLDS teams' Challenge Cup runs, Southern Outposts are still the overall winners, though, weren't they, really? Southern Outposts, if you want to classify Doncaster, Sheffield, and Catalans as Southern Outposts. It was interesting how it had tied up, and I only realised at the weekend. It was almost like 6 expansion teams all going head-to-head. I know necessarily with the South Yorkshire sides, not necessarily expansion teams as such by definition, but just interesting how it all got paired up. I don't know, has that ever happened before in one round? Broncos getting their derby team in inverted commas. I suppose it hasn't really, because Hemel have only been in the Challenge Cup draw for a couple of years. So no Rugby League Down South teams in the Challenge Cup anymore with those defeats. But let's get round back to that Championship 1 game, shall we? And hear from the general manager of the London Scholars. This is Howard Kramer. Howard, well, Sunday's game, your last game on the grass, on the green grass of home, as you've called it, at the New River Stadium.
Well, I thought it was quite appropriate with our opponents coming from the valley, so... yes, it's our last game on grass, and the grass is in great condition at the moment, probably the best it's been in for years.
Bit of a shame to get rid of it now then, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, nobody's been applying to dig it up and take souvenirs home as of yet. No, it's been in good condition. We've had the wet period, and now it's sort of dried through. And it was in good condition for the Oldham game, and it's been looked after. And it's ironic, I suppose, because 2 years ago we had a game against South Wales Scorpions called off at the last minute because of the state of the pitch. So yeah, it's a degree of sadness, I suppose, really. But we're quite excited about what's to come.
I don't mean this to sound harsh, but I mean it is only a bit of turf, isn't it? And you will have a much better facility once this 4G pitch gets laid.
I totally agree with you. I mean, from a traditionalist point of view, it's grass all the way. But we're in an era now where we've expanded the club. We have juniors teams. We have an open age team, and to have a facility here where we'll be able to play more games here, and probably put on more games before the main game. Feature some curtain raisers, and maybe some curtain folders as well. That creates a fantastic opportunity for us.
I've never heard of a curtain faller game. I like that. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, well, we did it with Broncos 3 or 4 years back. We played over there. They played Wigan, and then we played Oldham in game afterwards and called it the curtain faller.
Right, very nice. So it has been done before. I suppose this brings us on to then the fact that you're going to be in inverted commas homeless for a couple of years. So it can be a couple of months.
It's probably going to be about 4 months in. Yeah.
4 months. 4 months. Will you be back for Friday Night Lights? I guess is one part of the question. But do you know where you're going yet? Are you going to be ready? And you've got a fans forum Sunday. Is that tied into this?
Yeah, we've got a fans forum on Sunday. We thought it'd be a good opportunity to engage with the supporters and let them know exactly what our plans are. I'm in the process of sort of dotting the I's and crossing the T's today on our temporary stadium move, and it's a great opportunity timing-wise to actually sit down with the supporters on Sunday and let them know not only where we're going but why we're going there, the logistics behind it.
Okay, so hopefully by Sunday all those things will be dotted and crossed and you'll be ready to announce.
Yeah, I think looking at it today, we'll definitely be ready. Definitely be ready to announce on Sunday, and it looks like we're going to have to play something like 6 games away. But Fusion Lifestyle, who are installing the pitch and dealing with the various upgrading and renovations to the stadium, are confident that the pitch will be delivered back to them by August the 1st, so in good time for Friday Night Lights.
Very, very good. So what does it mean in terms of, it's going to be different, isn't it, and difficult because you're going to have to play away. I know that obviously you don't want to say too much in case certain things don't necessarily happen, but you're happy with the resolution and the plan that you've got in place? Yes,
definitely. We're not, without giving too much away, we're not moving too far, and one of the major considerations was not to inconvenience supporters, not only home supporters but away supporters, to make sure it was a safe environment that the RFL obviously would sanction the stadium. We're happy with the facilities that we're going to, and there's been a lot to take into consideration. We saw probably something like 5 or 6 different venues. I think supporters will be happy, and one thing we've avoided here is, if you like, really taking the show on the road and going to different venues. We believe there's an opportunity here to play not too far from here, but to engage maybe a new community, another community as well that hasn't been exposed to professional rugby league before. So that's quite exciting for us as well. And the club that's going to be hosting us are an extremely willing partner in terms of promoting rugby league to their own databases as well.
I suppose if you look at a situation being forced on you, the best you can do is make the most of it, and it sounds like exactly what you've done. The way that you've looked at it. You're having to move out, but let's do this and make it a good thing for us.
Yeah, I think that's right. But we've got to make it a positive experience for the players, because it's an important season, and whilst we haven't got to the best of starts, we're hoping to put that right on Sunday. Aspirations are still to make the playoffs this season. So it's important from Joe Magoo's planning and his playing point of view, and it's important from the supporters' point of view. But it's an added bonus, I think, if you can have a nice venue to take people to and maybe engage a new set of supporters as well.
This week is Easter week. You've got some camps going on, haven't you? The Scholars. I saw a photograph tweeted this morning of a couple of the youngsters out on your pitch. Yes, indeed. It's a nice sunny day. The weather's improved, and we've got an Easter skills camp taking place today and on Thursday. So there's still room for people to come down. Some kids are coming down for both days. Most are, but some can only make it for one day due to holiday commitments, etc. So Matt Cuss, community coach, is leading that today, and kids have been out there since 9:30 until about 3 this afternoon. Same again on Thursday, and Matt Bradley from the first team is going to come down and conduct a sort of kicking masterclass as well. So it's quite exciting for the kids on Thursday. When you've done these things before, you had the Jamie Peacock class there as well last year, and as far as I'm aware, he's coming back this year. They're always very popular, aren't they? And not just with people from within the area.
No, good to me. We've had kids from all over the South region came to Jamie Peacock camp, and obviously, Jamie and Ryan Hall were down. That was a 2-day camp. That's being repeated in August, and all things being well, that will be one of the first events to take place on the new 4G pitch here. And there's some great clubs in the region, as you know, down to Sussex, across to up to North Hearts and Southend and beyond. And we had kids come in their club shirts from all over for the Jamie Peacock camp, and we had over 50 kids there, and I'm sure that's going to be repeated this year.
Absolutely. And as for your fans forum on Sunday, like you say, it's an opportunity for you to tell your fans exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. You've got a new commercial manager in place at the Scholars as well. But what's the idea behind the forum? What are you expecting from it?
Well, I think Joe's going to address the forum as well, so give a chance to fans to have a chat with Joe and see what his plans and aspirations are for the season. As we've already mentioned, it will be a good opportunity to talk through with everybody the move and the need for the move out of the stadium for the next few months. And there's been a growing number of, since I've been here in the last 4 years, supporter base has grown, and I've discussed with a number of season ticket holders and supporters the need to get a supporters club together, and that'll be one of the key points on Sunday. Now, Pat Klusky has just joined as commercial manager, and he's got experience working up in Leeds and at Widnes, and he's one of the points he's got across when he first came down here. He was keen to get a supporters club going, so it's a good opportunity for us on Sunday to actually discuss that with the fans as well.
Back on the field, you mentioned it earlier on, aspirations to hit the playoffs. It's been another slow start then after the slow start last year, but both teams looking for a win at the weekend. Just spoken to Mike Grady, the coach of South Wales Scorpions, but it's a big game, isn't it, really, for both sides?
Yeah, you don't want to say it's bottom of the table. It's certainly not a 6-pointer, but we want to get away from there now. We've got an opportunity this weekend. We've had a good record at home to Scorpions over the last few years, and away as well. They may class us as their boat side, I don't know. I know certainly that's how Rochdale used to look at us as well. We've got an opportunity here to get that. We've put 2 points on the board with bonus points to get another 3 points. Make no mistake, Good Friday we're up at Hemel, and that won't be an easy game. Both sides are going to be totally committed to that one, and then we're away to York after that. So there's an opportunity here, but there are some dangers ahead as well over the coming weeks. But I think the squad, they've had tough time the other week up at Hunslet. A better performance at Sheffield, and we put 5 tries in, ran 5 tries in up there. So definitely looking to get a win under the belt this week.
One of the men you'll be able to hear at the Fans Forum on Sunday, Howard Kramer, the General Manager of London Scholars. Kieran tweeting using RLDS, saying very impressed with Scholars' attacking ability today. Not many teams come to Sheffield and put 28 points on them. Thank you for that, Kieran, for your tweet and for using the RLDS hashtag. And to our final interview for this week's programme, and we'll go to the South London Storm. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that we'd be interested in featuring any teams, any amateur clubs, any stories, any people in the game, community level, amateur level, that have a good story to tell. Now, a couple of years ago, the South London Storm and the West London Sharks merged together to form the South West London Chargers, but now there's an attempt to get the South London Storm going again. I've been talking to ERIC Stewart. I wasn't sure we'd see the name South London Storm again, Eric. Where's all this come from?
Well, there's a number of people who've been involved with the club for a long time, didn't want to see the club disappear. A number of people who are very passionate about the club, like myself. I've played there since 2000, and we thought the club should have been able to continue. And fortunately, we've had an excellent response. People who've come forward and want to help out and rebuild the club.
And so, how long have you been trying to do this?
Well, it kind of kicked off the end of last season. It kind of took us a bit by surprise that the club folded, just over a year ago as such. So, and myself, I was involved with Beckenham and Bears last year, and a couple of people involved in different things. Wasn't able to get it going in time for last season, but we're trying to get it back on track now.
How's it going? Have you found quite a lot of support down there?
Oh, the support's been overwhelming. So many people who have been involved with the club in the past want to come out and help and do stuff, even if a couple of us are sponsorship. People want to help out with kit. We've had, the junior clubs wanting to get back involved, and it's really encouraging indeed.
And why are you doing it, I guess, is one of the questions.
Well, I played for the club from 2000 to 2011, and it's a huge part of my life, and very passionate about the club and the sport of rugby league in general. And the club's in 5 years ago was in a very, very strong position, and for a number of reasons it was the good stuff was wasted, and I want to see it brought back.
And what is the plan? I mean, are you going to try and link up with the community clubs and stuff down there? Is the idea to sort of try and re-engage them?
Yeah. We've got. I've spoken to Croydon Hurricanes, Brixton Bulls, Wandsworth Raiders, and we're all kind of going to build back up to hopefully where we were initially. This year we're going to have a few Masters festivals. Use that to get the club back up and running. Hopefully, a couple of open age fixtures if we can sort that out.
Because I guess that was one of the good points about the South London Storm, wasn't it? In the structure that it had with the smaller satellite clubs for the juniors, it was a structure that I guess, given time, could be a really good sort of mini pyramid down in South London.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been down at the training tonight with Croydon Hurricanes, and there's like 35 kids down there training. It's it's really encouraging to see them. There's some of the older ones, looking like really good rugby league players, and there's so much talent out there that, that is the future of the club. It's the future of the game.
And I usually ask most people sort of their background and how you got involved with rugby league. How long have you been playing, and how did you end up playing down in South London?
Well, I started playing rugby league in 2000. I never played any kind of rugby before that, and I just got in touch at about South London Saints, as they were then, and just went down to training, and the rugby league bug bit me well and truly, and hooked ever since. And
Rob Powell well? You're happy to see him back involved with rugby league and doing stuff with Medway Dragons?
Absolutely, yeah. Rob was coach for us for a few years and helped set up the Brixton Bulls initially as well. And he's a fantastic coach. I'm really pleased for him for Medway. They've got an excellent coach there, and I think they've got a very bright future with him.
And do you think there's potential in South London as well, maybe slightly more than there was because Broncos have moved? I know it's more of a, Broncos in that area was more of a fan base than the community aspect of a club. It's not exactly, London's a big place. Southwest London isn't South London. Let's make that clear. But there is a potential, isn't there, to try and build on or take what they did and elements of it.
Yeah, I don't know how much the London Broncos actually affect the junior and the amateur clubs in London, because they've really had nothing to do with the community game. I think that's part of their problem, why they've struggled.
I know that Broncos may not have had such a great link with the community clubs around certain areas, but I just wondered whether there was an interest in that area that you might be able to build on in terms of just the game having an interest in South London.
I don't know. I mean, I saw a lot of kids out there at Croydon Hurricanes training tonight, and not a single person of the kids had a London Broncos top on. So I don't know how much they're aware of the London Broncos, to be honest.
And I guess your big thing is participation, isn't it? It's not a spectator sport as such. It's more you're looking for people to come and get involved. Yeah,
I've noticed that a lot over the years, people who have. I mean, I've been regular sport attendee of London Broncos games over last almost 20 years now, and the time involved at the Storm is there's been hundreds of people who've come through the club as players. Very few ever wanted to go and watch the Broncos. Very little. They were fans of the game, but they weren't so interested in the Broncos. So I don't know what the Broncos can do to tap into the people who are involved in the game, because there are a lot of people involved in the game in London who have nothing to do with the Broncos. They really need to, somehow engage those people.
And finally, if people want to get involved with South London Storm, what's the best way? Have you got sort of social media and websites and stuff set up again?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we're on Twitter at SL Storm RLSC. And we're also on Facebook if you search South London Storm. We've also got the Masters as well. For anybody who wants to get involved with that, feels over 35 in the South London area, get in touch.
I've got to say as well, thank you for joining us on Skype, trying to get more of our interviewees on Skype on the programme. It sounds much better than doing it on a phone, so thank you for that.
No problem. Glad to have helped.
That's ERIC Stewart of the South London Storm. We'll hear from the Eastbourne Exiles next week. Been chatting with them on social media. We'll have an interview with the attempts to set up their club in Sussex on next week's programme. Finish off with a final few tweets, a couple from Brew at Ian Ramsdale saying there was a Leeds fan. In fact, this was in response to a tweet that I posted for the filming that I was doing for BBC Late Kickoff, which I'm working on at the moment, going to talk to a Charlton fan who attended about 800 consecutive games back in the mid-90s. But Bruce saying there was a Leeds fan I looked north the other week who was about to make his 2,000th consecutive game. Poor bloke. 1967 his run started. He's flown home at least twice from holidays in that time to make sure he didn't miss one. That is dedication and somewhat stupidity, if you ask me, but thank you for that. I'm glad you could contribute a rugby league tweet to my work on Late Kickoff. And just like to finally say congratulations to Mark Wilson and the team that work on Get 'em On Side, which is a rugby league programme on the radio in the Northwest, and they've been nominated for a Radio Academy Award. I was involved in the Radio Academy Award entries for BBC London 94.9. We got one for the breakfast show, but saw that the Get 'em On Side team and Mark Wilson, a man who enjoys and is a friend. That's it, a friend of rugby league down south. Good to see him and his team, or the team that he works with, getting that award nomination. I'm sure that all the rugby league fans will be supporting them when it comes to the awards night itself to see whether they can turn a nomination into a trophy or an award, as it is. Mark saying a pleasant surprise to say the least. And that's it for this week's Rugby League Down South programme. There'll be no programme, I'm afraid, next week as I'm away. But I tell you what, why not listen to one of the old ones again? They are good, aren't they?